Welcome to Be On It.
Hey Jessica, what's going on in the Beehive today?
Hi, Debbie. I was thinking about poetry. Poetry I loved as a child, as well as poetry as an adult that I found profound. I've also been influenced to write my own poetry lately.
Yeah, I think the written word really has a secret beauty of capturing feelings that most of us have all experienced.
I agree that I just remember as a kid there is certain poems I remember by a certain writer that I just have never forgotten. And I read to my kids, Shel Silverstein, one of my favorites. He wrote Where the Sidewalk Ends,
Yep.
and some of my favorite poems by him, I liked Hug of War. And it goes, I will not play at tug of war. I'd rather play at hug of war, where everyone hugs instead of tugs, where everyone giggles and rolls on the rug, where everyone kisses and everyone grins and everyone cuddles and everyone wins. And I think I liked that because it was a positive poem. Some of his poetry is kind of controversial because they thought at the time that he was a little bit more of a rebel, would create like kids being rebellious towards their parents. But I kind of think that that's normal kids. Kids are here to challenge you. Kids are here to make you think twice about how you react and what you say to them and how you bring them up. And so I always liked and appreciated all of his poetry because it made me laugh. And it was like, it was sweet.
Yeah. Shel Silverstein is a classic. His work is classic. I remember him from back in the day too, and just the funny play on words, the comical
Oh,
illustrations that
yeah.
he had with his poems.
Oh, yeah. It would inspire me. My school was kind of one of those schools that were really big on the arts, and so they would have us do a lot of like poetry and haikus and all sorts of writing and learning about poets. So that was a big influence on my upbringing, and I think I always liked the whimsical aspect of his writings because it just made me feel like a little kid, and that because I'm a little bit rebellious and that I'm not alone, that we're put on this earth to teach our families that you don't have to be perfect, that you are perfect just the way you are.
I mean, I'm thinking about it now, but Shel Silverstein was an adult when he wrote his poems, and so he really had to like go back to his childhood. He brought so much comedy to his poetry, and it's like truth and comedy fused together, and the way he used his imagination, just loved it.
I still love every once in a while looking back at his poems and reading it. It makes me giggle, and my kids got enjoyment out of it.
The things that you do when you're children, like poetry, songs, books, and stories, they stay with you for a lifetime.
They really do.
It's like it's time stamped in your brain.
For sure. There's just things that you resonate with memories. And then, when you think of a certain book that you read or a certain poem that you read, you'll remember that and it'll have like some memory attached to it. And for me, it was Shel Silverstein growing up. And because my parents divorced and my dad was raising me, some of his poems were a little rebellious. And I liked it because I think you should be a little rebellious, not in a negative, disrespectful way, but you should question and ask why. And that's for me. He did it in a fun way, and he did challenge people to think a little differently, and I just really appreciated that. And we're not perfect human beings by any means, and so kids are innocent and they're still learning, and it's okay to be a kid and make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. And I always liked his stuff because of that. I just related to it. What was one of your favorite childhood poems that you liked?
Well, I really liked Shel Silverstein for sure. I came upon this poem that I want to share, which I heard when I was going through primary Montessori training, and you know what poetry does? It always takes you somewhere in your mind.
Yeah.
And I liked this poem because it was so simple, yet it was so vivid in the way it made you feel things through your senses. So, this is Just to Say by Carlos Williams. I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox, and which you were probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me. They were delicious, so sweet and so cold.
I like that.
I mean, who doesn't have the experience of eating fruit that's cold on a warm day? It's just so simple. It would kind of be an example of a poem that a Montessori teacher would share with a child. We would repeat it a few times, but I love poems for many different reasons, but for this particular poem, like I can really feel my taste buds. I can feel the plum, eating the plum and just the coldness of it.
When you read that, it kind of brought me to a childhood memory. We had plum trees and fig trees, and just when they'd get ripe, oh my gosh, they were so good. They kind of had that dustiness about them, so you had to polish them up and rinse them off, and just that first sweet taste of the plum. Oh, there's nothing like it when a ripe plum is ready to be picked and eaten. It just, yeah, it's so good.
I'm assuming he either imagined an experience or maybe he had a real experience or maybe he saw somebody with that experience. It just takes you somewhere in your mind and for that moment. I love it for that.
Yeah. That's what I like about poetry. It gets you thinking, it makes you feel a certain way, and it gets all your senses working together. And it just, that I think not everybody likes poetry, but I grew up with it and I always enjoyed it. And because, we can go along in this world, never question anything. I think it's okay to be a little rebellious in a good way, not necessarily a negative way, but it's good to question. How do you not grow if you don't question a few things?
Mm-hmm. I like poetry because it can help you question things too, but I like it just because it engages me. It engages my mind with words. It's an art for sure of being able to use words to convey a certain feeling or experience. It really helps me to feel something. So
I agree. I was inspired. I was thinking about my kids. They went back to school and I was inspired to write about my kids and my love for them. And so if I can share with you, I
oh,
wrote something called Mother's Love. And it says, "A hug and a kiss from you warms my heart. Your smile gives me hope. Your struggles make my heart break. Through it all, my love for you never wavers. It grows just as you do, and I hope you will look back and always know what a gift you are. The moment you were born, you gave me life in a sometimes dark place. You were the greatest treasure I could ever receive."
oh my goodness, that's awesome.
I was just thinking about how much I miss them and how much they mean to me. Kind of reflect back when your kids go off and the house is quiet. And I miss the kids, the pitter patter on the floor. I miss the laughter in the house. It gets a little quiet, and you just start to reflect back on those things in childhood and the things that you miss, that cuddle time that as they get older they don't always want to hug, they don't want to embrace they get their independence and they kind of grow out of that. And so I was just reflecting back about how much I miss that, and not trying to project on them or make them feel bad, but it's like I just want to hug every once in a while. A good hug from your kid is so nice, even when they're older. I hope that my kids continue to give me a good hug.
Yeah, I think the hug is wonderful to receive and to give. I mean, your other poem was about a hug too, which is funny. But that physical contact with your children,
Yeah.
that's really important.
Just the memories that I made reading to them and going to do fun things with the kids when they were little, and just, sitting down to playtime with them and making memories in that way, helping to educate them. And just, yeah, all those core memories of raising them.
Are those memories still vivid for you or are they kind of remote?
They're vivid and they pop up every once in a while when I kind of reflect back about being a mom and raising the kids. And I think this is because the kids are out of the house and they're not here every day. Because when I was in raising the kids and I was in the midst of, being a mom and busy with all the things, I didn't think about it as much. But now I have time to reflect on it. And I miss raising them. I miss the ins and outs of a day that we planned, especially when they were little and they were like so in awe of trying new things and wanting to be entertained and just the simplicity of a day. I would just kind of, you know how busy it can be entertaining little kids. This is before they even had all the sports and things like that. They were trying things, but they didn't have full-time sports at their age. I'm talking about like under 5 before school hit, just of all the like fun time reading with them and playtime with them, going to the park and just all those little things. I miss that aspect of motherhood.
Yeah, it's interesting because those memories aren't very vivid to me because it's been, over a decade. Poetry is great because it's a short piece of writing that conveys a lot. So I wish I would have written something like that back in the day. I wonder how different it would have been to write poetry as you were living those days versus recalling them.
Yeah, because how many times have you been frustrated as a mom and the day didn't go as you expected and you were exhausted? And it's hard sometimes to appreciate motherhood in the midst of it. And I appreciate and am grateful for looking back at it. But there were days where it's like, oh, this is just too much. I can't wait until the kids are more independent and I don't have to like entertain them as much. But now I look back and I'm like, oh man, those were like pivotal times that they were making core memories with me. And I'd have to ask them what they remember the most, what was the most memorable to them about growing up. But for me, it's just reading to them and spending the day because they weren't in school yet. They weren't even old enough to be in preschool yet. Missing those simple days where you can snuggle on the couch and watch a good Disney movie or go to the park and, push a kid on a swing or, slide down the slide with them and they would just laugh and they would just be tuckered out because it was just a full day and you just felt full as a mom and satisfied and then you'd make dinner and they'd make they'd help with odds and ends like setting the table and you would tell their dad about their day and yeah I miss that simplicity of life before things got so busy and chaotic.
I'm with you there. I miss the hugs. I mean, I still get hugs. I miss the laughter and just the joy that they had.
Yeah, right, because they were just learning everything and everything was through their eyes and it was just innocent and pure and inquisitive and I just miss that. And then things get a little bit more complicated and stressors, the stress of life comes into play and responsibility and all that stuff. Like I miss the pureness of life before they went off to school. You just can't get that back. Maybe that's why people love having a grandkid. They get to relive that.
Exactly. And I think that in like when your kids are that young, you're kind of their world.
Right. That's true. I didn't even think about it that way. I think about it the way they're dependent on you, which that's responsibility. So for me, I always made sure that reading to them was really important to me, and playtime and engaging with them and being there for them was really important to me. So I don't know if that's me projecting what I would have wanted as a kid, but I have to ask my kids like when they look back, what are the core memories that they remember growing up and, what do they still carry with them as being good memories? And what age was that early memory? I'll have to ask them.
Right. Because you have your perception and then they have their
Right.
perception.
Exactly.
Have you shared that poem with your children?
I did. but I didn't read it to them in person. I kind of texted it to them, and
Uh-huh.
I got heart emojis. So I think they appreciated it. Oh, it's like I hope they look back and
Mm-hmm.
know that their mom tried and that she loves them and that I did my best and that I enjoyed being their mom.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I hope that's their takeaway, that they know that they were loved. And I think their core memory, I know one thing as they got to school age, I left little notes in their lunch boxes, and oh my gosh, they would just, I know they liked it, but at one point they were like, Mom, there's too many. People are saying stuff. Can you not do any more notes? I'm like, all right, all right.
That's so cute.
I just wanted them to know, be encouraged about the day, like good luck on your spelling test or whatever it may be. I felt like that was maybe that is just the creative person in me. That was one way to just let them know throughout the day, even if I wasn't there, that they were loved. And I thought that, they should, I hope they have a good day. And I still text them and do that. I still text them, even though they're not here, and say, I hope your week's a good one. And I'm thinking of you. And I think that's just my nature. I think that's how I'll always be.
That's sweet, Jessica. Shall I share a poem, another poem? This is about children.
Oh,
This is a poem by Khalil Gibran, and this poem is taken out of this book that I have called The Prophet. So I will read it. I was first introduced to this poem when I was doing my Montessori training, and I heard it, and then I didn't really think much of it. And then at the very end of my training, I came upon the poem again, and then I really read it and really felt it. We had this little gathering at the end where we were going to graduate and everybody was going to on their own path, and I shared the poem because it really resonated with me as a parent and then also as like a teacher who was going through this training to be able to teach children later. So I really liked it for that, and I have a lot of feelings about it too. Here's the poem. It goes, "And a woman who held a babe against her bosom said, 'Speak to us of children.' And he said, 'Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you, for life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable."
that's beautiful.
Thank you. It just really made me feel a lot, because as parents and teachers, we all have our journey, and we can model things for our children, but we cannot make them follow our own path. They have their own journey and their own experiences, but our job in many respects is to be stable. And that can take many forms. Stability can be emotionally stable, financially stable, physically stable, all the things, so that they can go all through all the stages of life and then go on the path that they're meant to go on, or that they choose to go on.
You know why I like that? Because that's how I tried to raise my children. And I think that a lot of people struggle with raising their kids because they project their expectations onto their kids and what they want for their kids. And I agree with the poem. They're just borrowed. We're here to love them, but raise them to be adults, not children. Like raise them to think their own thoughts and then go out into that world and create their own life. And that's just a beautiful way of saying that their soul will continue on and their sole purpose might look different than your expectation.
I think this poem has a lot of soul to it, and I feel like as you're going through and reading it, it speaks to the process of letting go as well.
Yeah, it really does. And I think that's really hard for parents.
The truth of the matter is, you kind of are your children's world up to age, I don't put a number out there. They depend on you, and then things evolve where your influence and your control decrease over time.
Right.
And then it's just a whole process of letting go. I really like this poem because it helps validate me and my process of like being a parent. And it doesn't go into all the mistakes you make and what you should have done versus what you did and all of that. But it just validates me as a parent, like the bow that is stable from which the arrows can shoot out. It just helps me to understand it, that you did your best, whatever that is.
Right. That's beautiful. Yeah, I like that poem. I was thinking about like, what is my favorite poem as an adult that resonates with me about like who I am? And it's Maya Angelou, her poem Human Family always resonated with me because I'm always about community and always about we're bigger than just us. I had to look it up because I couldn't remember it word for word, so I looked it up on allpoetry.com. And what resonated me the most was we are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. It highlights how diverse we are as humans and how united we are. And we spend all this time hating instead of looking at each other that we have more similarities than we have more in common than not. Mm-hmm. And if we looked at each other and embraced those similarities and also differences and got along, and we'd just be in a different state instead of, always in this constant state of like, I don't like this person's personality and I don't like this about that person's belief system. Mm-hmm. How about just embrace that we're all unique and beautiful, and what we have in common is we're human. That's how I've always tried to be as a human being, and that no one's better than me and I'm not better than them, and that we're really put on this earth to learn from one another. Mm-hmm. And then it got me thinking about my upbringing, and I wrote another poem just based off of text messages from my mom and how it would leave me confused, and I wasn't quite sure, what was real and not real. And so if you don't mind, can I read it?
Oh, yes, please do.
It's called Altered State. It was the craziest story ever told. It made me stop, ponder, and question what I was told. Was it just all made up in her mind, or was there truth to this paradigm? The conversation would start so normal, then gradually turn to spiritual and paranormal. It wasn't clear if she knew her own reality, or was afflicted by some malady. It's kind of a personal poem, but I felt like I needed to purge these thoughts that I was thinking and heal from it. And I just put it on paper, and that's kind of what came out.
Yeah, that's a great. The title's great, and the rhyming and just the way that you were able to choose the right words to convey the feeling. I'm at the very end. The feeling that I get is I'm sitting there questioning everything.
Yeah, and she does that. And it's so hard because she's just not in a good place, but she never phones me, and I never have a real conversation. It's always through text. And so at first, everything's always starts out so fine, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, okay, what's going on? And so it always leaves me like, okay, is this real? Is this something that's really happening? Or is she just kind of out of it
Mhm.
because of the things that she's doing? And so I don't know. It's kind of sad for me because I just don't know. And she doesn't want help because she doesn't think she needs it. So it's just, I kind of grieve a little bit, but it needed to be said. And I showed it to my sister, and she's like, oh, that is so good.
Hit the nail on the head, right?
Yeah. I mean, what do you do when you've tried to help somebody, but they don't want the help? I don't know. It made me kind of sad, but it
Yeah.
needed to be said. Maybe somebody will find it that it resonates with them. I don't know.
I think all of these poems, and I like your Maya Angelou poem. I mean, I listened to her on YouTube reciting that poem. It's obviously something that she's written, but at the very end, it really hits hard at the very end when she repeats that phrase where,
More like my friend than unalike. We're
oh,
more alike, my friends, than we are
yeah,
unalike.
the way she just delivers that poem at the end, repeating that phrase with just so much conviction, really hit hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the wonderful thing about poetry. It can convey so much, and it's just the fact that the poem or the poet chose the right words to convey all that emotion, and then basically the emotion conveys a certain perspective.
Right. And the funny thing is, when I'm writing poetry, I can get my thoughts on paper, but I can't always articulate it when I'm talking to people. But with poetry, somehow, writing it down, I can get those thoughts and convey what I'm trying to think and say. It's interesting. I've always been able to do that.
That's a great, you should probably look to get that published because that is a great poem. And I think that when we're going through issues or we're having conflict or we're feeling a certain way, writing poetry, I mean, did you feel like that was helpful to you?
Oh yeah, it was healing for me. I didn't even realize it was a thing that needed to be said. And it was in the back of my mind just because people will go, well, how's your mom? How's your dad? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I only know if they call me or text me, and, otherwise, I would, when I reach out and I don't hear back. Like, I've extended the olive branch, and nothing on my part because I've always set healthy boundaries and they're aware of the healthy boundaries. And so if they can't meet my expectations on what healthy boundaries are, then they don't tend to reach out. But every once in a while they will. And so I don't hear from them often because they're just not capable of doing that, I guess. I've made peace with it, but there's a sort of melancholy about it because I have two parents that are alive. And, unfortunately, they just weren't the best parents. So when people ask me, it's really hard to have a conversation about it, for especially when people don't know,
Right.
without
'Cause-
getting in more depth. It just leaves it where we're all just kind of quiet because they don't know what to say. Because what do you say? Oh, my parents are alive. They're just really crappy parents without explaining further because there's always two sides to every story. But this is my life experience, and my sister will have her thing to say. But when I run it by her and she's like, you hit the nail on the head. That was our experience. And not to say that there weren't some good moments, because there were. But overall, unfortunately, they weren't meant to be parents. I'm glad I'm here and I'm glad my sister's here. They just
well, that's
really were in a place of healing and in a good spot to be having kids.
well, I'm glad you were able to express that point of view through poetry. It's powerful.
Yeah, thank you. If you guys like what we're all about, please join us next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
We are all about community. Join our community by following and subscribing to Be On It through YouTube, Instagram, and of course your podcasting platform so we can continue to bring Be On It to you. Just so you know, this is for entertainment purposes only. We are speaking from our lived experiences and are not licensed therapists.